Thereupon, Manjushri spoke to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya and the other worthy beings, quote, O sons of a virtuous family, I am very sure that the Buddha, the Bhagavat, will now teach the great Dharma. Rain down the great Dharma. Blow the conch of the great Dharma. Beat the drum of the great Dharma and reveal the meaning of the great Dharma. O sons of a virtuous family, I have seen Buddhas in the past who have shown this marvel and have taught the great Dharma immediately after emitting a ray of light. Therefore, you should know that in the very same way the Buddha has now emitted this light and has shown this marvel in order to cause all sentient beings to hear and understand the Dharma, which in all the worlds is difficult to understand. O sons of a virtuous family, in the past, more than innumerable, unthinkable, incalculable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha called Chandra, Surya, Pradipa, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. He taught the true Dharma that was good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. It was profound in meaning, elegant in speech, and endowed with the character of the pure path of discipline and integrity. To those seeking for the Sravaka vehicle, he taught the Dharma with respect to the Four Noble Truths, causing them to overcome birth, old age, sickness, and death, and to attain Nirvana. He taught the Dharma with respect to dependent origination to the Pratyeka Buddhas. And to the Bodhisattvas, he taught the Dharma with respect to the 6 perfections or paramitas, causing them to attain the highest complete enlightenment and perfect all-knowledge. Then there was another Buddha named Chandra, Surya, Pradipa, and after him another Buddha also named Chandra, Surya, Pradipa. And so, in this way, 20,000 Buddhas all had the same name, Chandra, Surya, Pradipa. They also had the same family name, Bahara Dvaja. O Maitreya, you should know that these Buddhas, beginning from the first up to the last, all had the same name, Chandra, Surya, Pradipa, endowed with the 10 epithets. The Dharma that they taught was good in the beginning, the middle, and the end. The last Buddha fathered 8 princes before he renounced household life. The first was called Mati, the second Sumati, the third Anatamati, the fourth Ratimati, the fifth was called Vishasamati, the sixth Vimati Samughatin, the seventh Gohoshamati, and the 8th was called Dharmamati. These 8 princes were endowed with dignity and power, and each of them ruled over 4 great continents. Having heard that their father had renounced household life and obtained highest complete enlightenment, all of them abandoned their kingdoms and also renounced household life. Each caused the spirit of the Mahayana to arise within him, practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity, and became an expounder of the Dharma. They all planted roots of good merit under many thousands of myriads of Buddhas. At that time, the Buddha Chandra, Surya, Pradipa taught the Mahayana Sutra called Immeasurable Meanings, the instruction for the Bodhisattvas and treasured lore of the Buddhas. Having taught this sutra, he sat down cross-legged, undisturbed in body and mind, among the great assembly, and entered the Samadhi, called the Abode of Immeasurable Meanings. Then Mandarava and great Mandarava flowers, Manjusaka and great Manjusaka flowers fell like rain from the sky, scattering over the Buddha and all of his attendants. And the whole Buddha world quaked in 6 ways. At that time, all in the assembly of humans and non-humans, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimanaras, maharagas, kings, and noble emperors, having experienced such an unprecedented marvel, were filled with joy, and pressing their palms together, they gazed attentively at the Buddha. Then the Buddha emitted a ray of light from the tuft of white hair between his eyebrows, which completely illuminated all the 18,000 worlds in the East, in the same way that all of these Buddha worlds are visible now. O Maitreya, you should know that at that time there were 20 kotis of bodhisattvas in the assembly who wanted to hear the Dharma. All of these bodhisattvas, having seen all the Buddha worlds completely illuminated by this ray of light, were struck with wonder and wanted to know why it was emitted. A bodhisattva named Varaprabha was there with his 800 disciples. At that time, the Buddha Chandra Surya Pradipa, having emerged from samadhi, remained sitting for 60 intermediate kalpas and revealed to Bodhisattva Varaprabha the Mahayana Sutra called Sadharma Pundarika, the White Lotus of the Marvelous Law, hereafter Lotus Sutra, which was the instruction for bodhisattvas and the treasured lore of the Buddhas. The assembly also sat there undisturbed in body and mind, listening to the Buddha's exposition for 60 intermediate kalpas, as if only a single mealtime had passed. During that time, not a single person among them experienced fatigue of body or mind. Having taught this sutra for 60 intermediate kalpas, the Buddha Chandra Surya Pradipa made this proclamation to the assembly of Brahmas, Maras, Shramanas, Brahmins, Devas, humans, and Asuras, saying, quote, "On this day, during the middle watch of the night, the Tathagata will enter Nirvana without residue." Close quote. Then the Buddha Chandra Surya Pradipa gave this prediction to a bodhisattva called Srigarbha. Addressing the monks, he said, quote, "This bodhisattva, Srigarbha, will become the next Buddha after me. He will be called Vaimalanganitra, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened." Close quote. The Buddha, after having made this prediction, entered Nirvana without residue during the middle of the night. After the Buddha passed into extinction, the Bodhisattva Varaprabha, having preserved the Lotus Sutra, taught it to humans for the full period of 80 intermediate kalpas. This Bodhisattva Varaprabha was made the teacher for the Buddha Chandra Surya Pradipa's 8 princes. Varaprabha led and inspired them and caused them to be firm in highest complete enlightenment. After paying homage to innumerable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, all these princes attained the path of the Buddhas. The last of these to become enlightened was named Dipamkara. Among the 800 disciples of Bodhisattva Varaprabha, there was a man named Yashasakama, who was attached to profit. Even though he had repeatedly recited the sutras, he never became versed in them and forgot the greater part. That is why he was called Yashasakama, fame seeker. But because he had also planted various roots of good merit, he was able to meet innumerable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, whom he rendered homage to, honored, revered, and praised. O Maitreya, you should know that Bodhisattva Varaprabha at that time was none other than myself, and Bodhisattva Yashasakama was none other than you. The marvel we see here is exactly the same as the previous one. Therefore, I am certain that today the Tathagata will teach the Mahayana Sutra called the Lotus Sutra, the instruction for bodhisattvas and treasured lore of the Buddhas. Thereupon, Manjushri, wanting to explain the meaning of this further, spoke to the great assembly in verse, quote, "I remember that in the past, innumerable incalculable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha, the best of humans, called Chandra Surya Pradipa. This Bhagavat taught the Dharma, leading and inspiring innumerable sentient beings and incalculable numbers of bodhisattvas to attain the wisdom of the Buddhas. Before renouncing household life, the Buddha fathered 8 princes. Having seen the great sage renounce household life, they also followed him and practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity. At that time, the Buddha taught and extensively illuminated the Mahayana Sutra called Immeasurable Meanings to the Great Assembly. After having taught this sutra, the Buddha sat down cross-legged on the seat of Dharma and entered the samadhi called the Abode of Immeasurable Meanings. The heavenly mandarava flowers fell down like rain. The heavenly drums resounded spontaneously. All the devas, nagas, and yaksas paid homage to the best of humans. All of the Buddha world suddenly quaked greatly, and the Buddha emitted a ray of light from the tuft between his eyebrows and manifested various marvels. This ray of light illuminated 18,000 Buddha worlds in the east and revealed the conditions resulting from the karma of each sentient being. Through this light of the Buddha, all the Buddha worlds appeared, as if they were decorated with various jewels, such as lapis lazuli or crystal. All the devas, humans, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, and kimnaras were each seen paying homage to the Buddhas. All the Tathagatas who had spontaneously attained the path of the Buddhas looked majestic and very beautiful, with bodies like golden mountains. Each Bhagavat appeared like a golden image in the midst of lapis lazuli, expounding the meaning of the profound Dharma to the great assembly. There were innumerable Shravakas in each of the Buddha worlds, and they saw all the great assemblies because of the light of the Buddha. There were also monks living in mountain forests who, through persistence, possessed purity of conduct, which they protected like a precious jewel. There were bodhisattvas, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, practicing by giving, perseverance, and so on, i.e. the 6 perfections, who also became visible through the light of the Buddha. There were bodhisattvas who, having entered deep samadhi, were tranquil and undisturbed in body and mind, and who were seen seeking for the highest path. There were also bodhisattvas who, knowing the tranquil character of the Dharma, were seen teaching the Dharma and seeking the path of the Buddhas in each of the Buddha worlds. At that time, the fourfold assembly, having seen the Buddha Chandra Surya Pradipa manifest these great transcendent powers, became delighted and asked each other what the reason for this could be. The noble one, revered by devas and humans, then emerged from samadhi and praised Bodhisattva Varaprabha, saying, quote, "You are the eye of the world. You are believed in by all, and possess the treasure house of the Dharma. You are the only one who can understand the Dharma that I have taught." Close quote. The Bhagavat praised Varaprabha, delighting him, and taught the Lotus Sutra for the full period of 60 intermediate kalpas without rising from his seat. This expounder of the Dharma, Varaprabha, firmly and completely preserved this most excellent Dharma that was taught by the Buddha. After having taught this Lotus Sutra, and having then gladdened the assembly, on that very day, the Buddha told the assembly of devas and humans, quote, "I have already taught you the meaning of the essential character of all dharmas. Today, I will enter Nirvana in the middle of the night. Exert yourselves attentively and rid yourselves of negligence. The Buddhas are extremely hard to meet and can be encountered only once in kotis of kalpas." All the sons of the Bhagavat, on hearing that the Buddha was to enter Nirvana, became sad, thinking, quote, "Why will the Buddha enter Nirvana so soon?" The noble Lord, the King of the Dharma, consoled the innumerable beings, saying, quote, "Do not fear after I enter Nirvana. This Bodhisattva, Sri Garbha, has fully realized the true character of freedom from corruption. And after me, he will become a Buddha named Vaimalanganentra, and he will bring innumerable sentient beings to the path." And that night, the Buddha entered Nirvana, like a fire that goes out when the wood is exhausted. His relics were distributed, and innumerable stupas were built. There were monks and nuns, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, who increased their efforts and sought for the highest path. This expounder of the Dharma, Vajraprabha, possessed of the treasure house of the Buddha, extensively proclaimed the Lotus Sutra for 80 intermediate kalpas. All of the 8 princes, led and inspired by Vajraprabha, became firmly established in the highest path and met innumerable Buddhas. After paying homage to the Buddhas and following them in their practice of the great path, they all in turn received their predictions, becoming Buddhas in succession. The last, the highest of devas, was called Dipamkara, and as the leader of all the sages, had brought innumerable sentient beings to the path. This expounder of the Dharma, Vajraprabha, had one disciple who was lazy and attached to fame and fortune. This disciple ceaselessly sought these things and amused himself from house to house. He abandoned recitation of the sutras and, forgetting them, never became versed in them. For this very reason, he was named Yashaskama. But since he had also performed many good deeds, he was able to meet innumerable Buddhas. He paid homage to all these Buddhas, and having practiced the great path after them, acquired all the 6 perfections, and now meets the lion of the Sakyas. He shall subsequently become a Buddha called Maitreya, who will extensively bring innumerable sentient beings to the path. After the parinirvana of that Buddha, Chandra, Surya, Pradipa, the lazy one was none other than you, and the expounder of the Dharma, Vajraprabha, was no one but myself. When I saw the Buddha Dipamkara, he also revealed this marvel of light. That is why I know that this Buddha will now teach the Lotus Sutra. This sign is just like the previous marvel. It is the skillful means of all the Buddhas. The Buddha has now emitted this ray of light in order to reveal the essential character of dharmas. Now it should be clear to everyone. Wait attentively, with palms pressed together. Having reigned the Dharma, the Buddha will satisfy those seeking the path. If there is anyone seeking the 3 vehicles who still has any doubts, the Buddha will completely remove them, extinguishing them with none left over.